Welcome to another episode of Eye Catch Killers. Last time I saw today's guest, she was covered in blood. It was a Saturday night, she'd just been in a fight. Fortunately, the blood was not hers. The Eye Catch Killers podcast was a fresh start for me, as I left policing behind and started a new life. Over the years, we've laughed together, cried, and shared some powerful moments. Welcome to Eye Catch Killers. Today's guest is an elite female athlete. Her chosen profession is professional boxing, also known as the hurting game. For as long as I can remember, the world of boxing has been intrinsically linked to the world of crime. I'll just clarify, our guest today isn't linked into the world of crime. Today's guest is Ella Boot, who is the current Australian super lightweight boxing champion, and she's completely different from what you'd expect for someone who fights for a living. Thanks to the generosity of her legendary trainer, Johnny Lewis, we've been given extraordinary access to Ella preparing for the fight and what goes on behind the scenes on fight night, when you're the main event on a sold-out fight card. Ella Boot, welcome to Eye Catch Killers.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. I got to say, and we're not going to give the result of the fight at this stage. We'll talk through it. But having access to the lead up to the fight, and then walking out to the ring and what was going on in the change room. When your small entourage got into the lift heading up there, and I was fortunate enough to be part of the group in the lift, when you're just about to walk out into a auditorium with full of people, music playing, and you're about to step in to defend your title, I had goosebumps. It was exciting. Yeah. You feel like a gladiator walking into the arena. How did you feel?
Oh, I was so excited, but also like very focused. And yeah, it was just the best feeling, like knowing you're about to go and do what you love. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you say go and do something that you love, and you're very understated in the way you approach this, you're going out to step into a ring. You got the Australian title on the line in front of a large group of people, screaming spectators that are because you were the main event, so they're well and truly lubricated by that stage. You've got all that going on, and the girl that you're fighting, who was very competent, and she wanted to hurt you, and you're going out to hurt her, because that's what the business is about. And there's a lot of skill that we'll talk about, but you love it.
Yeah, I love it so much. It's addictive.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Like what is it? The adrenaline or the?
I think it's more about the hard work that you put into the training, and then going out there and displaying all that hard work, and it all paying off at the end. Yeah, definitely.
Why boxing? What is it about boxing that you haven't chosen, let's say, another sport?
Yeah, so I actually had this thought straight after my fight. I was like, why haven't I chosen to do sprinting or running or something a lot safer and simpler? But it came down to the fact that boxing is such a unique sport. Like, you have your own style, and it's a never-ending learning game. Like, you can be at the top, you could be a world champion. There's always something that you can learn, and skills and things that you can develop and improve on all the time.
Yeah, I think the people that don't fully understand boxing or haven't stepped into a boxing ring wouldn't appreciate the science behind it. They see the brutality of it. But you're virtually like I say ballerina. It's not reference to the fact you're a female fighter, but it's an art form, isn't it? There's a real science to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I even look at it like chess. Like, you've got to be really smart about it. Like, you can't really just go in all guns blazing, because if you get caught, then you're in trouble. So you've got to be really smart with the way that you go about things, and be really tactical as well, and set traps and things like that.
Right.
So yeah, that's the way I look at boxing. I don't really look at it as a really violent. I don't really see it the violent side of it so much. More of the skill and the art of it.
So are you telling me the Rocky movies aren't true?
I'm not sure. Probably.
But you're 100% right, and that's what people don't understand, and the magic, and that's what attracts so many people to boxing. That people that understand it, and describing it as a chess game. I think a lot of people go, "It's so far from a chess game," but that's very much what it's about. Just the consequences are a bit higher in the boxing ring.
Yeah.
because you're sitting here with a very nice, I call it like a panda look.
Yes, I look like a
as in-
panda.
look like a panda with a very nice black eye. Your background. I was speaking to your father, Jeff, on Saturday night, and he said that you got into martial arts at a very early stage.
Yeah.
Talk us through that.
Yeah, so I began karate from a young age when I was in primary school, and I went on to compete at a national level, and I won multiple Australian titles in karate, and I just loved the sport so much. Yeah, it was in a way like similar to boxing where you have to be really smart and tactical about it, and I think that's where my transition from karate to boxing went really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Let's wind that back a little bit.
Yeah.
Again, you're so humble. Just won multiple national titles and in karate. Talk us through. You walk into a karate school, and I think a lot of people have seen that. Kids quite often start out in martial arts, and they've got their uniform on and all the promise in the world, but not many people stick with it. What was it about? How old were you, and what was it that interested you in that?
I think I started at 7. And at first it was something just for like a sport, like just to do after school, like an activity sort of thing. But I sort of fell in love with the fact that you could compete in it and sort of progressing as well from a white belt all the way through the 10 belts to become a black belt. It was sort of like that goal that you set for yourself and then finally achieving it and working towards it. The whole process of that was just something as a child, like I really fell in love with that process.
So those, I can understand that. And I remember I did judo when I was probably that age or a little bit older. And you get your first belt, and you go, "Wow!" You go home, look in the mirror at yourself and your new belt. Is that Is that what you were striving for? Is that it was like, I need to obtain that goal? Is that what you aim for in your martial arts?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, having that goal and just knowing that there's always improvement and knowing that you can keep getting better and better. And that's what I wanted to do. Like from such a young age, I just wanted to be the best version of myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Who was your sensei at the where you were training?
It was Shihan Wayne McDonald. Yeah, so he was a Shihan. So he was like a level above the sensei. So he had like his own dojo, and he had a lot of senseis within the dojo as well.
Yep.
I had Sensei Rick Hislop, that was a really good sensei that taught me a lot as well.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, he's amazing. They're both really amazing people. Even today, I still hear from them, and they congratulate me on my success in boxing, which is really nice.
Well, that's cool,
Yeah.
isn't it? You got that continuity.
It's so nice, yeah.
Tell us a bit about you growing up. Where did you grow up?
I grew up on the Sunshine Coast.
It's a tough place.
Yes, I know.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
So I was actually originally from England. I was born in Essex.
Yeah.
And when I was 6 years old, my parents moved me over to the Sunshine Coast, other side of the world.
That was a good decision.
Yeah, very good decision. I can't thank them enough for what they've done to allow me to grow up in such a beautiful place. Just that lifestyle was just so amazing.
Whereabouts on the Sunshine Coast?
Just outside of Noosa.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah,
It is one of the best places on the coast, isn't it?
Yeah, very lucky.
Okay, so karate. Did you play any other sports?
I did like a bit of soccer and gymnastics. But yeah, I always was a sporty person, and then when I got a bit older, I did surfing as well. I don't know, I just fell in love with combat sports though. I was more driven towards combat in a
Okay.
way. Yeah.
Try to explain that to people. Like it's I understand it. There's a thrill to it. Even getting hit and then hitting, there's something about it. The consequences are high.
Yeah.
I get more thrills out of combat sport than I do other sports. You can enjoy other sports, but combat sport takes it to a sharper level.
Yeah.
What's your experience? Why?
I think because it's just so individual, and if you're not putting in the hard work, you're going to get caught out. So, like, it's just so raw, and you can't hide from anything at all. It's just you and your opponent, and you just got to put 100% into it, and if you don't, it shows. So
Yeah, it's almost like a metaphor for life that what you put in is what you get out,
Oh,
and that's
100%.
very, very much it. You made another point there that you also what you can't hide behind anyone.
Mm.
Like it's
Yeah.
in a team sport, like you could play soccer and, well, the goalkeeper shouldn't have let that goal in. It was a simple save, that type of thing.
Mm.
But when it's one-on-one, there is absolutely nowhere to hide.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Do you think it sets you up for other challenges in life, that type of putting yourself in that environment?
Yeah, absolutely. I find like even from karate, like the discipline and the focus that you get from it, like and being really sort of like respectful, but like sort of, I don't know the word, like you're sort of strict on yourself in a way, because if you don't, then where do you go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With your senseis and the people that you were training in karate and the respect that's been shown, so yeah, bowing to
Mm.
when you walk into the dojo, what's that teach you?
That teaches you like sort of to have a good character, to be respectful, and it's sort of like a way of getting into like the zone as well. Like I find when you're in sport, you have to be like have a really strong mental game. Like you have to be really focused. Like you can't be thinking about if you had a drink the week before or anything like
Yeah.
that. You got to, focus in on what you're doing, and yeah.
So you just sort of flippantly said, "Oh, I won a few national titles." Talk us through that journey, because you don't just sort of win a couple of national
Mm.
titles. There's a lot of competition, a lot of training, a lot of pain. I would imagine it's a contact sport.
Mm.
Talk us through that journey. And this is in
In
karate.
karate, yeah.
We haven't even got to boxing yet.
Yeah, karate was a really long journey. So I had 9 years of karate. I worked my way through the ranks from a white belt coming all the way up to a black belt, and then I had my second Dan black belt there. And I fell in love with the competing side of it.
Can you just explain that the second Dan in black belt? Because
Yep.
most people think the journey stops in martial arts if it's a belt, so
Mm.
it stops at the black belt.
Yeah, so once you get your black belt, you've got multiple dans after your black belt. So you got your first dan, second dan, third dan, and it keeps progressing. And you have to have a certain level of experience. You have to be a certain age as well to get to those gradings. Yeah, it's quite a long process. Like I think it's almost lifelong. Like to the level where my senseis and shihans have gotten to, it would have taken them years and years of hard work and consistency, and keep
Yeah.
training and learning all these new different things.
Talk us through a grading for a black belt in karate. What's that involve? Just to give people a sense of it.
Yeah, so grading would involve your basic movements. So you have to go through every single thing from white belt to black belt and past. And then you have to go through your cutters, which are like sort of like a formation of movements, like a sort of like a dance, but in punches,
And
like a routine.
they're complicated movements,
They
aren't
are
they? And they're
very
very
complicated.
very particular in where your foot is, how your hands
Mm,
are, and that
yeah.
type of thing.
And yeah, you get graded on your technique and your aggression and all different things like that. And you have to have the right placement. You have to be able to kick to someone's head and just be like just a few centimeters off, like as well, because it was a non contact karate that I did. And then we would do sparring. And you had to show your aggression and your skill and movements and things like that in that. And then you'd also have like a mental sort of grading as well, like a challenging one. Like they'd get you to hold a stance, and you'd be there for maybe like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was sort of about pushing your body past what you think you're capable of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of martial arts that test people like that, and it's
Mm.
quite interesting because if you put in a position like, let's say, horse stance, which is a
Mm.
thing for people that don't know, it's similar to sitting in a chair without the chair there. That might be a good way of describing it.
Yeah.
And it's a very painful position,
Mm.
but to stay in it for a long time, you have really got to let your mind go, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've just got to drift off and not think about the pain. Otherwise, physically, if you're concentrating on it, you can only do it for a minute or two,
Mm.
and you've got to let it go to stay in it longer. Is that the type of thing they're teaching you?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, definitely.
Did you find that sort of skill helpful in different sort of issues you confront in life?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I feel like it's made me have a lot more self-belief in myself and confidence as a person. Like, even in school, like, being a karate person, like, people would give you more respect, but it would also make you respect other people more as well. Like, I wouldn't ever be someone to get into a fight or anything like that. Um, yeah, I just find that having that experience through karate and the discipline's just been amazing for me. I feel, yeah.
Because I was going to ask you that, yeah, if you're a top, I can remember some kids at school and they were good at karate and everyone kept a safe distance from them, or a good box of people stay away from. Were you treated differently, do you think, because of your skills?
Yeah, definitely was.
Did any boys approach you or too scared to?
I think they're too scared to. Yeah.
Cowards.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so was you were given some respect?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But that you said because you give respect back. Is that
Mm.
something that you've been taught
Yeah.
through it?
I don't know if it's something I don't know if it's something that I've learnt from my parents or if I've learnt from karate, but yeah, you've got to take your kindness, and it's my dad always told me this, it's more important to be kind than it is to be important. It's more important to be, what is it? It's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's
What a
always
good
stuck with
philosophy
me. Yeah.
to go through.
Yeah.
Were your parents into martial arts at all? Or?
Yeah, my dad was.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a boxer when he was younger.
The philosophy he told you there, that is a nice way of
Yeah.
approaching life. It's good advice, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's always stuck with me ever since he's always said it. He always drilled it into me as a child.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's a really important thing.
Well, from what I've seen of you, that is a way that you're approaching life in what you're doing.
Yeah.
There's no ego about you.
No.
There's a confidence about you. I was
Mm.
scared when I didn't want to look at you when you were in the lift. You were frightening. But so how old were you with the karate?
I started at 7.
Yep.
And then I did karate for 9 years, so I finished at 16.
Okay. And
Yeah.
to be that committed and then stop, what was that like for you?
Oh, it was so strange. Like, I was sort of back and forth on whether or not I wanted to continue in karate or to change into boxing, but yeah, it was a weird sort of time because I had just fought at the national titles.
Yep.
And I felt like I was robbed in a qualification event for an international competition. But I just thought I'd take some time off from it, and I tried boxing, and I just instantly fell in love with boxing. And yeah, that's how my boxing sort of started.
Where did you start your boxing at?
So I actually just started with Dad in the garden for a few weeks. He was just sort of helping me transition my style. And then I went into a gym in Karoi, and I was training under Mark Evans.
Yep.
And yeah, that was like an amazing gym. I walked in there and there was heaps of girls boxing, which was so nice. Like, we had like this really nice girl group, and then there was some really good high level male boxers as well, which was awesome.
The fact that girls, and I wanted to talk to you about it across the board with women's sport. And I love what happened with the Matildas during the World Cup recently, and the interest that the nation showed in a national football team, and it just so happened to be a women's team, and everyone got behind. Boxing is not the type of thing traditionally that you expect to find women in, but are you finding that it's changing?
Oh,
the environment is changing?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I was actually quite shocked to see how many girls there were in my gym. And then when I went to all the international, like state level and national events in boxing, like, there was so, like, a high level of females. And I feel like even since then, it's just grown so much, and it's really, really good. Like, it's good to see.
What do you put that down to?
I don't know. I don't know.
Do you think that women have become more confident to sort of step into the male domain in boxing? Because that was it was a rarity in the old school boxing gyms if a female walked in and wanted to box.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I think it is a girl, like, for women, it is difficult for them to come into a boxing gym that's full of men.
Yeah.
But if they're seeing other girls that are doing it, then they're going to feel more inclined to try it and, pursue what they want to do. And
That
yeah.
makes a difference.
Yeah.
How did you find the transition from karate to boxing? Was it it would have obviously helped with your karate background, but what was it about boxing that drew you so much to boxing? You identified that the women in the boxing gym that you went to was positive. What else was it about boxing?
I think that it was a contact sport, whereas karate wasn't a contact
You are
sport.
you're a smiling assassin. You just want to hit something,
Yeah.
don't you? Yeah.
Yeah, it felt really good, and yeah, I just loved the skill and the art of boxing and like the head movement. Like I just fell in love with being able to not get hit from someone, being able to know that if someone throws 5 punches at me, I can defend myself, It was just awesome.
It's a nice feeling, and people, and you said being hit, and I do understand that. Sometimes, and people go, well, that's weird, but sometimes it makes you feel alive. It's not that you want to be punished, but I made a mistake, I got hit. There's consequences from it, so it teaches you little life skills in that.
Yeah.
Before we get right into the boxing, schooling, how were you with your schoolwork? Were you distracted with your sports endeavours, or did you also find an interest in study?
Yeah, I actually quite enjoyed school in a way. Like I felt like I was quite good at school. I got a few like little like scholarship award things in school, but when I did go to boxing in my senior year, I did struggle a lot with school and ended up having a lot of time off because I was traveling overseas.
Right.
But yeah, it was sort of balancing the training and the schooling at the same time because school was quite important to me.
So what age are we at this stage? You're sort of 17,
Yeah.
around that. So
Yeah.
you're
16,
finishing your
17.
last year of school,
Yeah.
and that's when your boxing started
That's
to
when.
take off.
Yeah.
How long had you been training in boxing before you had your first fight?
6 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you still remember it?
Yes. Yep. For sure.
Tell us about it.
Yes, my first fight. I think it was Bundaberg. Yeah. So we drove up, me and the team. There's a few of us fighting on it, and I think I was just like really excited. I don't think I felt that nervous. I think because of all my karate experience in competing, I felt like quite relaxed for someone having their first fight.
Yeah.
And it was just so exciting. I remember literally I did not stop smiling the whole time.
You haven't stopped smiling as far as I've seen for the last couple of years,
Yeah.
but you just can't help but smiling.
Yeah.
I think it's part of your tactics, actually. I think you smile and lull me into a false sense of security, then knock me out. So yeah,
Maybe.
that could be part of it.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the travel, and I
Mm.
don't think people understand to get to a high level in amateur boxing, the amount of travel and that you're traveling all
Mm.
over the places to some obscure towns, little halls that you'd be fighting in, and all sorts of things. Talk us through that journey of the way you went through your amateur career.
Yeah, so the first year was when I had my first fight. We were traveling all around Queensland, me and the team. There was usually quite a lot of us fighting because we had quite a lot of boxers in the gym and we were all very active. So it's sort of like a team bonding sort of time as well, traveling together and going on these training camps and having these fights. And it was really enjoyable. Just,
Yeah.
like we're all here for the same reason. And yeah, we've worked hard together as a team. And yeah, it was really nice. And then in 2017, that's when I started competing internationally as well. I got on the Australian team and there was a lot of international competition there.
Okay, talk us through that. The first of all, how did you have all these achievements?
Yeah.
Just go, I did this, did that. Yeah. How did you get onto the Australian team?
So I had to qualify through the state championships and then I had to win the
You were fighting up in Queensland?
Yeah, in
Yep.
Queensland. So I won the Queensland titles and then that qualified me for the national titles. And then I won the national titles. So that qualified me to be on the Australian team.
How old were you then?
17.
Okay, so that's a
Yeah.
pretty rapid rise.
Yeah, it was very quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many fights had you had to get to that level?
I think I would have had maybe 7 or 8.
Okay.
so not that many.
And so travelling with the Australian team overseas, where did you go?
My first one, we went to England, and then we went to Hungary. I had 2 fights in England and then 1 fight in Hungary. It was my first international competition as a young girl with the Australian young youth team.
Yep.
And that was quite an experience.
Talk us through that. That's a huge experience.
So it's hard as well because boxing's a weight making sport. And I sort of struggled with my weight making in my early years of an amateur boxer. I didn't really understand nutrition and weight cutting properly.
McDonald's didn't cut it?
No. I was definitely not really a McDonald's person.
Right.
But yeah, it was just hard knowing what was right and what was wrong and not having any education at the time. So I went over, quite a few of us were overweight. I think I was like 3 kilos before I got on the plane to go to England.
And you're not going to lose much weight on the plane.
Yeah, and I did not realise how much sodium was in plane food and water weight and everything like that. So I woke up, I think I was like 3.5 over when I got there, and I was straight on the skipping rope and sweating. So that was quite torturous.
How long did you have to lose the 3.5 kilos?
I think I had just under 2 days, like, to lose it.
And sometimes boxers say that is the worst part about boxing, the weight loss. And I've seen people preparing for title fights that are struggling with their weight, and they just become angry bears.
Yeah.
That it's just torture. So you just skipped and ran?
Yeah, skipped and trained and ran and pretty much just starved myself, which is definitely don't do that. Times have changed now. Like, there's a lot of
all right.
things that you can do that are a lot safer and easier. So yeah, I did everything completely wrong because I didn't have any knowledge or anything like that. And I was completely drained, and I ended up having my first fight in England, and I ended up winning that fight. It wasn't my best performance because of how drained I was. But then we had another fight, I think it was a couple of days later. So I think that was like on a Thursday, and then I had a fight on Sunday, I think it was. And that was in London. It was the Haringey Cup. I think I had about 2 kilos to lose that day. But that was all right. And then, we were like sort of doing it all together because we were like just a group of young girls. Yeah. We were just like all sweating together and everything.
Just do saunas, hot baths, the whole range of things, and skipping, and just sweat it all out.
Yeah.
Going over to England to fight, I would imagine. I'm just thinking how I would be thinking. You fight locally, whether it's state, and then you get to the level of fighting nationals. But then going overseas, you don't know these people that you're going to be fighting. Yeah. And I'm sure there would be some things that cross your mind that, okay, am I up to this standard? Am I ready to fight internationally? Did you have any self-doubts at that stage?
Not really. I felt like I had quite a lot of confidence within myself.
Yep.
Just because, I don't know, I've just always had that belief that I can do it and I can achieve it. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I felt quite confident in going overseas.
Where do you think the confidence comes from?
I don't know. I don't know.
I can do this. Yeah. No worries here.
I think, to be honest, my dad's always been in my ear about like, you're a champ. Like, he's always given me
that mantra.
Pep talks. Yeah, like he's always said, like, you've grown up in Essex and you've moved over here and you've done this, you can do anything you want to do in life, like whatever you want to do you can achieve it, sort of thing. So
build that confidence.
I think he was a big part in my confidence, definitely.
That plays a lot in if you're stepping into the ring. If I step into the ring and you've got any sense of self-doubt, you've almost written the ending, haven't you?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, you can lose a fight weeks before it, just within your own head. If you're doubting yourself, then it's game over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you fought in England, and then where else did you fight?
And then we went to Hungary on that training camp, that fight camp. So we went 2 in England and then over to Hungary. and that was good.
There would be a bit of fun had on. I've seen boxers when they're travelling or whatever, and it's just pranksters. It would have been a bit of fun.
Yeah, it was.
Travelling those circles.
Yeah, it was good. It was good to be with a team of girls, same age, and there for the same reason. Yeah, it was just so nice to be able to explore and sightsee for a couple of days after the fight and everything like that. It was such a good experience. Yeah.
That would give you a lot of, I would imagine, self-confidence, because I'm thinking, I'm trying to put myself in perspective from the way girls look at it. Oh, we can't fight, we're a girl. That negative, it must have been empowering to be travelling with a group of girls, fighters, and that confidence. Is that, do you look back at those days with that type of confidence?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was amazing.
Any role models that you had that you looked up to that helped you on the way? Older girls or trainers?
I always looked up to Katie Taylor in my early amateur days. Still do. She's amazing. Yeah.
And she's world champion now.
Yeah. She's been such a good role model for all the younger women in sport. Like, she's always been so humble and respectful. She's never badmouthed anyone, and I think she's a really good advocate for women's boxing.
What weight does she fight at?
Lightweight, my weight division.
Okay, well, okay, it might be a prophecy coming here. Yes, Katie, I've always respected you. However, okay, with I think you had 45 amateur fights.
Yeah.
And one 38, 37?
39.
39.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what made the big decision to go from amateur? And can you explain to our listeners what is the difference between amateur and professional boxing?
So the difference between amateur and professional is amateur's more about the points scored within the 3 rounds. So you've got 3 by 3 minute rounds, and in professional boxing you've got 10 to 12 rounds of boxing. So it's a longer duration in professional sport, as a professional sport. And then you've also got the side of professional boxing where it's a bit more about the type of punch landed as well. Like, it's got to be like a powerful, it's got to be clean, it's got to be powerful, it's got to be, quite, it's a bit different to amateurs in the fact that amateurs sort of don't get hit.
It's point scoring by landing punches in the amateurs, but with the professional, there's more intent behind the punches, and there's more power in it.
Yeah.
Did you, at the level you were at with your amateur boxing, did you consider pursuing the Olympics?
Yes, I did. So I actually went to the Olympic trials, and I thought that I'd won the trials there, but I didn't get the decision, which is quite it was like a point where I was like, oh my God, I nearly gave up boxing because I was so upset with the result when I fully believed that I deserved to be on that Olympic team. So I just had a few weeks off of boxing completely, and I was training with Johnny at the time. He was in my corner because I moved from Queensland to Sydney.
Okay. And then when we mentioned Johnny, we mentioned the legendary Johnny Lewis, Hall of Famer, boxing trainer, and all-round good guy.
Yeah.
He's sitting here listening to this, so we've got to say nice things when we'll turn off the tapes, and we'll say some bad things about him if we can find anything. So how did you come to be training with Johnny?
So that's another long story too.
We've got plenty of time.
So I was up in Queensland training with my team, and I ended up being on the AIS team, so the national team at the AIS in Canberra. And I had a friend, Taylor Robertson, who was coming up to Sydney to meet Johnny and potentially be trained by him. And we were really close, we were best friends, we did everything together. So she invited me to come up along with her on the trip, and I went with her, and she was getting all the stuff wrapped up when we met them and everything, and I was just going to sit there and watch. And then Johnny goes, "Oh, darling, would you like to join in?" Thinking that I wasn't a boxer. So I'm like, "Oh, I don't have my stuff."
That's typical Johnny, isn't he? He's very inclusive.
He is so inclusive.
Yeah.
So
okay,
nice.
So it was by accident. Johnny's just being nice and said, "Oh, look, you want to have a try at this boxing game?
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, I'd love to. Absolutely. And yeah, so he took me and Taylor both on the pads and we had a good training session and then I was like, "Oh, I really like this. This is awesome." And then a few days later they invited us to stay up in Sydney, both of us, and yeah,
Yeah,
it was
and
nice.
train
And
trained
train,
trained from
yeah.
there. And have you been so at what stage in your amateur career was that? Just towards the tail end of it, or?
Yeah, towards the tail end of it,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
And I've heard Johnny, he talks about you in glowing terms, and that, I'm not going to embarrass you because you've probably heard it plenty of times, but he said he saw something special in you.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's saying basically he's out of retirement in training because he wants to be with you and see what you can achieve. He hasn't discovered my skills yet. I'm sure he will one day, and he'll stay out of retirement. But yeah, it might be a late start, Johnny. But um, how did that feel for you? Like an amateur, you would have heard who Johnny Lewis was
Yeah.
by that stage.
Yeah, for sure. I was so amazed that I was meeting him and then getting be able to be trained by him, and yeah, it was amazing. And then him telling me that I had something special was unreal. Like I couldn't have like been happier about it. It was so nice.
That would have to add to your confidence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was. It was nice.
So, what stage of your life was this? You're living down in Sydney. Had your parents moved down, or you moved down on your
No,
own?
so I actually was living in Queensland still, and
Yep.
I was just in Canberra for a training camp.
Right.
And then Johnny asked us to move to Sydney.
Yep.
So I left my parents up in Queensland and moved down to Sydney with Taylor.
Okay, talk
Yeah.
talk us through that because your parents, their little daughter,
Yeah.
granted a top the person in karate and also boxing, so they've got some confidence so you can look after yourself. But what did they think that you're going to move down to Sydney to pursue a boxing career?
Mm.
Did you decide as in professional, or was it still amateur at this stage?
It was still amateur at this
Yeah.
stage. I wanted to trial for one more Olympics or just continue amateur for a little bit
Yep.
more. And yeah, mum and dad were really, really upset, but they were also really, really supportive of me because they wanted me to pursue my dreams. So
Yeah.
they were all for it, even though they didn't want me to leave.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
imagine. What was driving you to leave? Was it the opportunity to train with Johnny? Was
Ye-
that the driving force?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it was to be able to train with Johnny and gain that experience and be able to have him as a part of my life. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I knew how wonderful he was and it was such a great opportunity for me. I couldn't say no to it.
Okay. All right. Well, look, I think we might take a break on that note, and when we get back, we're going to explore your professional boxing career and the things about Johnny that he's taught you, and we're going to talk about the preparation for your fight and what happened on fight night.
Sounds good.
Cheers.
Thank you.